Okay, welcome back. The Huffs here with a quick tutorial on an easy way that I clean the grill. You might not agree with it, or you might agree with it. These are some tips and tricks that I do. There's been a lot of people talking about burn backs into the box. If you keep your grill good, I'm going over almost a full 3 years here. Never had one. Some of the important things to watch out for is you want to keep your hopper full. So about the time it comes down about halfway, I usually fill it back up. So that's long enough for an overnight slow burn. The other thing is, and we're going to show you to clean it, is these edges here get these little growths on it. So you can see the spacer that tries to allow air to come in, but you have to clean this off. So then these lids, they gain up right in here. You have to get that clean. This part here doesn't really matter a whole lot unless it's got a lot of creosote buildup. Now, this week alone, I've cooked 2 big briskets, 2 16-pound briskets, and roasted some vegetables for some salsa, and also some carne asada I made this week. So this is all within that. I'm kind of stretching this. Usually I don't let it get this dirty, but I made sure that I had enough air movement. Believe it or not, this is a little trick maybe guys want to do or something, but this is a little Weber tool holder. So when this is closed, you can see that there's a little bit of gap here from a warp, and that's good. We want air to come in here. We don't want air to go out, we want air going through the machine and coming out. We don't want air coming out through there because it can't breathe. So a lot of times when I'm lighting, I'll do this. And if you can see, I tilted it, and it adds a little bit more air movement through the machine. So I will light it that way. I'll run it riot that way. And then when I'm cooling down from riot, some people don't agree with this, but when you're on riot mode, I go down, I set it at 250, and I let it get down below 300, and then I turn it off. I don't just turn it straight off from riot mode. And I leave this little crack in here so that air movement can happen. And by all means, keep that lid closed. You won't get any backdraft. So now for cleaning, this is a piece of junk. It's from Tractor Supply. Don't ever waste your money on it. It was on clearance for like 20 bucks one time, and I thought, well, heck, it's an ash thing. Maybe it's made for it. It's junk. Tractor Supply should get rid of it. So what I'm going to do first is I usually just take something like this and knock these off. Kind of go around here. Kind of knock that off a little bit. I did riot mode this after it was done. This is a copper pipe for cleaning for plumbing on the inside before you put it together. So sometimes I'll use this to get in between if I got some stubborn stuff and I can't get it off. And then underneath, I usually run my little scraper. This is my dirt scraper. You can run it on the top or the bottom or whatever. So that's kind of how I'll do this. I'll probably take this out and spray it off because it's pretty bad. And then I'll do a little re-seasoning. As for up here, a lot of times I use this. And this thing here believe it or not, does wonderful on these sides. So you just kind of go around like that. But I use the in-between, and I go around like this. And it knocks off what it needs to knock off. Remove that. All right, so that's that part that I get done there. Now, this part here, I just kind of go around like this. I usually hold on to the top, but I got the phone in my hand. Okay, as you can see, I went around the edges and at least got rid of the little hairs. that are sticking up there, so that it at least, because there's little pieces of creosote are going to want to seal this thing up. That's kind of what they're doing, so that's why we knock it off. You can see I scraped the back a little bit with this brush, and that's really about it. I don't really do anything unless there's a huge buildup, but there hasn't been, because riot mode usually burns the bigger parts off anyway. So when using this, my recommendation would be not to use something like this on your eating surfaces. I had one time where a little piece of this came off on an eating surface, and I found it in the meat. That's why I use that other little Brillo paddish thing that, you know, is used on the Blackstones and whatever else, some different grills. Now you're going to see we've got some buildup here, so we need to go in and clean that out. You can use scraper. It's probably really loud in the speakers. Okay, so I knocked those off. Then I'll take this and I get down in there. And that way I knock down what's inside of here. Then on the outside, see if you can look, you can still see from the outside that there's a buildup. That needs to go away. So on the outside, what I normally do is I'll take the scraper and I'll go up through and do that and make sure it's open. I also have just a little bit lightly opened mine a little bit more, and that seems to help last a little bit longer, just not too much. So all right, I'll do that and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it in here. Okay, so the lid's cleaned pretty good. I mean, that's good enough for some more cooks. You can see it's decently clean through the vents. Now I'm going to clean down here. This is the original plate, no rusting, no whatever. Doesn't matter, every time you put it on riot mode, it burns off the rust anyway, if there is any. So I just use this brush. This brush is actually pretty nice for using on this grill. The angle fits really nice. Okay. So then I always keep a pair of channel locks. Okay, I'm gonna pick it up and it will fit right here in between those two mounts if you need it to. I'll just kind of knock that out and set it over here with this. So now you see, I told you I used it quite a bit. This is significantly more buildup than I normally have because of how much cooking I've done this week. So what I do is I just take this and I work my way around the top, knocking off the different stuff. And then this angle works perfectly. I just do this. And then here I just go in between. I can go alongside of it. If there's any excess buildup, but I always use pans underneath my cooks and stuff anyways. So that's why I don't have necessarily a lot of grease in here. You can see the last ones I did were a little bit bigger, so there is a little bit of drippings. Well, just a hair bigger in the pans, but I'll clean this up and then I'll show you what it looks like. Around the temperature sensor with this, I just kind of run it between, because that's just a cover. And again, this just goes around the edge. Okay, so I've gone around with this brush and you can see there's a lot more in here than normal. So when I brush down, it's a little too much. So you're gonna have to do this a couple, 3 times, depending upon how much room you have here at the bottom, and then you'll have to do the bottom. And then you got to make sure to clean out the inside of there. If there's a puck, what's called a puck in the bottom, which is a buildup of the ash, just take a screwdriver. You can kind of see that piece just jumped out. Like this is a little piece of a puck, right? So just take a screwdriver and go around the igniter there and make sure everything's all broken up. And then we take this annoying, awful thing. It's going to be loud. And just sweep it up. And stick this all the way down in. And you can kind of see I got it somewhat clean, and I'll get it cleaner because I have to lift the thing up a little bit. Lift that thing up, it's too long. So I'll clean this out and I'll let you see what it looks like. All right, so here it is with it, all the heavy swept out. You can kind of see there's just a little bit of grease in the bottom from my cooks that were just a little bit bigger than my drip pan. If they're bigger, I still try to make them where the grease will run down the meat into the drip pan. So what I would still keep cleaning this. I haven't run the brush on the bottom yet, so I'll run the brush on the bottom. So I'll clean this up and I'll let you guys take a look at what it's done. Again, I'll use this brush. Okay, let me zoom back out. Okay, here we go. So that's pretty clean for a 2.5-year-old grill. You can see there's rarely any grease that reaches the bottom of my Bullseye. I think it's very important to keep the grease under control. Even if I smoke some steaks for dinner, I'll still put a protector on top of the drip pan. And then before I turn it up to riot mode, I pull the drip pan out so it won't catch fire. And then of course, when it's on riot mode and the steaks are searing, the grease burns off instantly. I think one of the tricks is if you have a really dirty grill, don't let it sit covered or sit for a long time. You probably should clean it and then let it sit if you're not going to use it for like a couple weeks or something like that. You know, you don't want all that holding moisture that was down in here. But I live in an arid climate in Nevada, so you know, I don't run into a lot of things that people that live in you know, like Florida or Northeast or any place that has, Louisiana, lots of moisture. So maybe in the comments below, some of you guys can help out with some secrets in your area to keep, you know, from hurting anything down in this area with moisture. Of course, you know, since we cleaned the bottom, you know, now I have to put in, you know, a handful of pellets. And then I also just kind of shove them over against, that way the igniter's totally covered. And then we can put our grate back on. If I can get a hold of it. All right. Lip up, as you can see. Now, what I do is my grill burns really hot on this side, on the front and on this side. Let me get out of the sun. On the front and on the side. So I will offset my grates a little bit just so it'll bring more heat on this side. That my grill doesn't move very much. It only moves from here to underneath the cover if I want it to cook at night if it's going to rain or something. But out here, that's like 3 days a year. So that's how it is. And I'll clean this bad boy up. Now, about cleaning the top. Some people, I don't like to clean the top. I like to just leave it. This Barkeeper's Friend is what I've found to be the best. I do clean this. If you use a sponge, to clean, I would even be careful using this, especially on that. But I usually just use paper towels, but a little bit damp sponge. If you use the hard side, it will get rid of your marks. not the indentation, but like you can see the machining marks. It will get rid of them. It'll cause a really polished spot, and then you'll have to do the whole thing because it'll look weird. But if you just do this with that barkeeper's friend, and you can get it as clean as you want, and go around the edges a little bit here. Like I said, I don't really do much with the top. I could, I guess. And you just wipe it off. You can get in between there if you want, make it all look nice. But that's how I clean the Bullseye. Hopefully that helps out a little bit to keep from backburns, backdrafts, anything like that. You can even take your little bit of barkeeper's friend and clean that a little bit more there. But that's how I do it. Hopefully that helps. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Okay, so there it is, all cleaned up now. I took the grill out, or the grate out, and cleaned it up a little bit, and went ahead and oiled it and put it back in. So it'll be ready to start for the next time. We did put a handful of pellets in there. So before we do a next cook, when I started on to light it, it's going to have to run for 20 or 30 minutes to normalize the temperature, because there's likely more in there if I'm wanting a low cook. If I want to go straight to riot, then it's fine. But if I want to do like 200 or 225 or something like that, I need to let those pellets burn through and get the paste going on the feed rate to normalize temperatures. Otherwise, you'll see a big spike and then a drop and then a big spike. So I need to let that normalize after cleaning, and then add the meat. So this is the Bullseye. It's all cleaned up. Thank you. Talk to you soon.